Now, I want us to look at the differences between augmented and virtual realities, because these are technologies that are very critical to us and very important to us, because they are shaping how we perceive our environment and how we make use of the systems and the environment we have, and how we learn. Because as you can see in the world today, there are so many technologies that are very sensitive and are involving human beings, and sometimes in order to learn or to basically make sense of them, we need some kind of virtual environment or virtual systems that can help us learn these intricate elements within our environment, and to help us also to learn things which are critical, things which we cannot just plunge into them without prior consideration and taking time to compare and to evaluate and validate the risks that are involved. So today I want us to look at the differences or the distinction between these two technologies, which are very important. They are shaping how our world is running today, how elements or objects within our environment are perceived. So as you can see, virtual reality is very important because it was the first one to be actually understood and well advanced. So and now other technologies such as augmented technology and mixed technologies are also coming up, and they are all related to virtual reality. So and these are basically subset of virtual reality, but I want us to look at the distinction between virtual reality and augmented reality, so that we can make informed decisions as far as these two technologies are concerned. Now, when looking at augmented reality, this is a blend of physical and digital elements to create artificial environments. So these environments are not real, or they are partially real as far as augmented reality is concerned. Now, when looking at the usage of this technology, a good example that I can be able to tell you, and which you can be able to possibly so a good example of augmented reality which I can be able to offer you in just concluded the World Cup, when the news or the sport analysts were talking about individual player, they would have a 3D picture representing the player, and on the side you will be able to see some information regarding the player in terms of the number of assists he's been involved in, how his passes are accurate, his passes accuracy was also being displayed there. And apart from that, you will also see the age of the player, and now the number of caps, or the number of times he's appeared to play for his native country, and also how he's been performing now over the years. So those are some of the that is one of the valid example I can give you at the moment. So as you can see, AR technology helps to display score overlays on telecasted sports games and pop out 3D photos, text messages, and emails. So that is an area where we have seen augmented reality being used. Now, looking at virtual reality, on the other hand, this is computer generated simulation of the real world. So this is basically a simulation of the real world as presented or rendered to the user in terms of 3D, in terms of three-dimensional view. So these technologies utilized heavily in movies and video games. So normally it assists in creating simulation to similar real world, so that the viewer using the computer and sensory devices are able to interact with their environment. Remember, in virtual reality, you or the user must have a sensory device such as a headset or a gloves, which is contrary to augmented reality. Is only a few where you can have such, but in virtual reality, most of the time there must be a sensory device that is being used. Now, virtual reality is being used in various areas today, especially in science and education in general. So virtual reality is becoming part and parcel of our education system today, because people are using these simulated environments to learn how to fly planes, how the internal organs of human beings are working, how systems within a nuclear reactant plant are working. So all these are very important to us, because you see all these areas I've been able to mention are very sensitive and very critical to human, because some areas can cause harm if we just plunge into them without prior consideration of the risk and the consequences. So we have to look at that before we even get to interact with the real world, so that we eliminate the risk of death in there. So that is very important and very critical to point out at this point in time. Now, the difference between these two is normally very clear, and as you can see from this information that I've been able to prepare for you, you're able to see that an augmented reality system normally generally augments the real world scene that is already existing. It's just augment the real world scene that is already there. While on the other hand, the virtual reality completely immerses or is able to immerse the user into a virtual environment. There is no way the user is able to interact with both at the same time, that you interacting with real and artificial world at the same time. No, this one is purely a virtual environment. Now, in users in AR normally have a sense of presence in the real world. On the other hand, in virtual reality, visual senses are under control of a system. So that is that is another distinction between the two. Now, AR, on the other hand, is normally 25% virtual and 75% real, while virtual reality is 75 virtual and 25 percent real. So you are able to see the distinction is clear as day and night, but these are very important and pertinent technologies as we are interacting with in our world today. Now, augmented reality immerses the user into action. It partially immerses the user into action, while VR, on the other hand, fully immerses the user into action. So those are some of the distinctions that are there, and when you look at the two in terms of network bandwidth or internet bandwidth, you see that AR requires about 100 Mbps bandwidth and with no headset, and also on the other hand, we have virtual reality, which needs at least 50 Mbps connection. In some instance, VR headset are used. So the thing is, AR requires up to 100 Mbps bandwidth, while VR requires up to 50 bps bandwidth. In augmented reality, there is no headset needed, but in virtual reality, sometimes one might need headset or head device. Now, with AR, the end users are still in touch with the reality, right, by using VR technology, right? But in VR, users is isolated from the real world, just interacting with virtual objects which have been created. Now, augmented reality normally enhances both real and virtual world. Now, on the other hand, virtual reality is only there to enhance fictional reality for the gaming world. So that is important to carry with you and to understand at this point in time. Now, how does AR works? How is it working? Now, it uses computer and generally mapping and depth tracking in order to basically present content, appropriate, desirable content to the user. So it allows basically the cameras that are installed there or that are being used to collect, send, and process data to show appropriate content to the user. So in augmented reality, the user environment enhanced with contextual relevant digital content. Yeah, so that's how it works. On the other hand, we have a virtual reality which focuses, or it's mainly dealing with simulating of the vision. Now, the users need to have what we call a VAR gadget or a headset screen in front of their eyes. Now, this basically what it does, it eliminates the elements of a user interacting in the immediate environment. So it takes away the environment from the users and brings in an artificially created environment which the user can be able to interact with. Now, as it is today, there are two lenses that are placed between the screen. Now, these the users need to adjust their eyes based on the individual movement of the eye and their positioning. Now, Now let's look at advantages of augmented reality. Now there are quite a number of advantages that are related to augmented reality. So one is that it is able to offer individual learning. At the same time, it is able to foster learning process. It is used in wide variety of fields, so it is not specific, so it is applicable across many fields. It offers innovation and continuous improvement of what we already have. It increases accuracy. Augmented reality can be used to increase users' knowledge and information. So it helps people to share experience over a long distance or long distances. So it helps developers to build games that offer real experience to the user. On the other hand, we also have virtual reality offering a number of advantages. So one is immersive learning. Another one is creating an interactive environment, right? The other one is increase work capabilities, then offer convenience. And one of the most important advantages that it helps you create realistic worlds so that users can explore the world. Now, virtual reality is in education make education easy and comfortable. Virtual reality also allow users to experiment with artificial environments. So that is very important. Now, anything that has got advantage, on the other hand, must also have some disadvantages. So disadvantages of augmented reality are as follows. Now, it is very expensive to implement this kind of technology. Now, there is also lack of privacy as one of the major disadvantage of this. Now, this has even prompted some company like Apple, Microsoft to start thinking of coming up with an operating system that is basically geared towards running or managing AI components. So this is an area that is gaining traction all around the world, especially within these technological companies. They are thinking of coming up with a good operating system that can help their devices, or that can manage devices that are being used with this kind of technology. So it is important. It is this idea of privacy that is creating all these ideas and causing individual technologies or scientists to look into ways in which they can be able to improve these systems. So the low performance level of AR device is major drawback that can arise during testing phase. So augmented reality can cause mental health issues. So lack of security may affect the overall augmented reality principle. So extreme engagement with AR technology can lead to major health issues such as eye problems and obesity. So this is something that is normally general to even general use of computers. So when you sit for long period of time before your screen and your device, sometimes you run the risk of developing some health issues there, right? So we also have disadvantages as far as the virtual reality is concerned. So virtual reality is becoming more common, but programmers will never be able to interact with virtual environments. So there is the escapism is a commonplace among the virtual reality users. People start living in the virtual world instead of dealing with the real world issues. So those are some of the pertinent issues that are arising. People are now getting so much used to virtual reality to an extent they neglect the other real world, and they end up not living in the real world but living in the virtual world. So training with VR environment never has been the same result as training and working in the real world. So that is also another another bottleneck there, because as you can see, in as much as virtual reality is able to give us the prior experience to something critical we are learning, but at the same time working on a virtual environment is totally different with working in the real world environment. So there have to be there must be a way of reconciling that in a way that will not have so much repercussion on our work environment, and also generally our work ethics. Now, as I mentioned earlier, these technologies are used in various areas. So, but let's just point out some of the areas where these technologies are being utilized. Like ARs are being used and developed with embedded text, images, and videos, so that we can use them in our phone or devices. We also have printing and advertising industry are using AR technology apps to display digital content on top of real world magazines, such kind of things. Now AR technology allows you for the development of translation app that helps you interpret text in other language. So those are gains that are being realized as far as augmented reality is concerned. Now it will help with the help of Unit 3D engine tool. AR is being used to develop real-time 3D games. So it is used in developing 3D real-time games there. Now, when looking at virtual reality is used to build enhanced fictional reality for the gaming world. So it is used in game, can be used in military for flight simulation and battlefield simulation. It is used as a digital training device in many sports and helps to measure sports persons, right? Measure sports persons' performance and analyze their techniques, right? Now it's also becoming a primary method for treating post-traumatic stress. So those are some of the areas this technology is being used. It is also used in devices as Google Cardboard, HTC Vive, Oculus Rift, or other, can be transported into real world and emerging environment like squawking penguin colony, or even the back of a dragon. Okay, so those are some of the artificially created environment where people can be taken, where they are using this virtual reality and environments or devices. So virtual reality technology offer a safe environment for patients to come into contact with things they fear. Then also medical students use VR to practice procedures. Virtual patients are used to help students develop skills that can later be applied in the real world. So those are some of the application areas where this technology is being used. So as it is imperative that we get to understand this technology as time goes by, because technology is changing day by day, and in our world today, human beings are coming up with ideas and technologies which are shaping how we think and how we perceive our world, and we don't want to be left behind. We want to be always on the know, and that is the reason why I am here, so that we can be able to learn together and get to know the kind of the technologies that we are dealing with in our world today. So thank you for spending your time, for joining me and learning about augmented and virtual reality. So as it is, if you've not subscribe, please do so, and if you have, please share this with your friend so that we can develop this channel together. Thank you. It is always a pleasure to interact with you.